I could share. So when we had Maudsley on,
yeah,
I had said to him, I kind of like that we're a small channel and we're not that big. And he gave me advice. And he said, Anthony, I know what you mean, but I'm going to make a suggestion to you. Don't look at it like you want to stay small. Just always say the truth. Just always speak truthfully. And if the channel is going to grow, it'll be because God wants it to grow. And if it stays small, it'll stay small. But like, don't do something based on you want your channel size you want your channel to stay a certain size, or you want it to get bigger. Don't do anything for clicks or views. Do something because it's true.
Yeah.
And
100%.
And that's kind of what I did yesterday. And like, it wasn't about insulting Matt. I think I was very gracious to Matt. I said, I don't want to put ill motives on him. I think Matt maybe doesn't understand this issue completely. I really don't think he does. I think it's easy to get swayed to the other side and see the dangers of it. Right. And I tried to present both sides. Like there's two dangers here. One is you stir up enough animosity that another pogrom happens, and the other is you blind Catholics to the reality of the dangers. Those are the two situations, and you're going to fall on one side of the argument or the other. And Eric tries to play this silly loosey-goosey middle where he's like, well, I'll criticize their foreign policy stuff, but I won't criticize Jews. He did the same thing with Nick Fuentes. Like he had this, it's like, let's talk about Nick Fuentes. Well, I kind of like this about him, but I don't like this about him. Then today he's like, he posts something about Nick and he's like, I think this is very fair of Nick, but I think Nick should give an apology. It's like, dude, you can't play this middle ground milquetoast opinion all the time. Like sometimes you just have to give your opinion on something.
Yeah, it's very disingenuous.
It is.
It's inauthentic, like, and that's why people.
I'm going to curry up to the Nick followers, but then I'm going to say something a little bit to make sure I don't lose my follow. Like just say what you believe.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do. Like it is tricky to just come out and say what you believe sometimes, because you do like dude, all of us that do this, we all suffer from like a little bit of vainglory, and you want people to like you. And it's like, you just have to say, okay, I'm just going to be me, and people are either going to like it or they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And you're going to develop your own audience because you're just being you. And you can't play the fence forever on this issue specifically. So Eric's got to pick a side. Eric's either got to go in and start defending the Jews, or he's got to say, okay, look, there's something we got to talk about here. And it can't just be from a strictly libertarian perspective. You're a Catholic. You're not a libertarian. You're Catholic first. And when you look at this issue,
that's where it's really
like that. Like this issue has to be looked at how the church has always presented it, to how that changed with Nostra Aetate. Like that is actually where the change comes.
Mm-hmm.
And you see when the church changes its position on this, what happens in Rome. And we watched that
how does he expect to criticize and question Vatican II when he's unwilling to look into why, like the roots of Vatican II?
Oh, dude, even the settings. I watched Catholic Family Podcast today, and Stephen Cox was on there, and Stephen Cox kept trying to like bring this issue up. Dude, they're all afraid that they'll talk about Leo, they'll talk about the Hindus, and they'll talk about that, but they're all like nervous to talk about this topic. And it's because they're all older guys.
Yeah.
They're older guys. It's a generational thing, man.
Yeah. Sedevacantism does not it does not seem to be a Zoomer thing. You know what I mean? Like there are some, but
yeah, it's more a autistic thing. Yes, it's they're very stuck in what they want to talk about, and I like a lot of those guys, but they're just, it's just not addressing the actual issue. It's like, okay, the Pope's fake. It's not a real Pope. It's like, oh, whatever. Like. He is though, and whether he is or isn't, like the guy in Rome, the world looks to as the Bishop of Rome, and what he does matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't care. Like, oh,
you can't just ignore him.
Yeah, he's a fake Pope. Well, then why are you obsessed with him? Why is all you do is comment on what Leo's doing there? It's like, because it matters and it's important. And when the Bishop of Rome invites all these different religions to Rome, yeah, in your eyes, he's not valid, but like, dude, he's the freaking Bishop of Rome, and the whole world is looking to what the Bishop of Rome is doing. And it's changed the entire world's posture on how we look at other religions, especially Catholics, because the whole Catholic world is looking to the Pope on this.
Yeah.
And they're going, Matt's going, I could join the Daily Wire because look at what the Pope's doing in Rome. So do you want to be a trad and really address this issue?
It does seem, I don't know if hypocritical is the right word, but I'm going to go with that because that's the only one I got at the moment. It does seem hypocritical that Eric Sammons wants to talk about living as a trad in every way except what traditionally Catholics thought about the Jews.
Believe, yeah. It's like, this is, right. Dude, you want to get to the root of doctrine? Like, all of the doctrinal issues stem from the church's position on ecumenism.
Yeah.
Like, it is the red flag of red flags from the council. It is the church's position on ecumenism and its posture towards other religions. It is not de-elevated, de-escalated. I don't know. It has lowered the esteem of Catholicism amongst the other religions and made it like it's just one among many instead of the one true faith. So even all you new Zoomers that are converting and coming into the church, you're like, Catholicism is the one true church. It's like the church isn't saying that stuff anymore, man. And that's the danger. Like, that's what we need to be talking about. And it all stems from the Jews making us change our position towards other religions. Like, this is, I'm sorry if you don't see that. I don't know, man.
And I mean, as we showed with the quote from Mary Duval, or I think that's what the cardinal named with Mozzie on Saturday. Like, the Jews were trying to do this. Like, that quote was from 1928. Like, they had been trying for a long time, and it did not gain any ground until after a certain event,
Holocaust narrative, yeah,
right?
Until after the Holocaust narrative, and then they kind of electing a Polish pope who lived through that whole event, and then the German pope who was forced to join the Hitler Youth when he was a kid. Like, this stuff all matters. Yeah, whatever, man. It's just, the thing is, like, I still like Matt. Like, it's not like I don't know, man. It's talk about effeminacy. It's like, if a guy can't handle being criticized when he makes one of the most controversial decisions. I mean, it's such a controversial decision to join a platform that he knows the whole world is criticizing right now because of its Zionism. It's like, how, like, I'm not allowed to, I'm being effeminate for talking about that. I don't think these guys understand what effeminacy is. I think you're being effeminate for not talking about it. I think you're afraid of the backlash for talking about the reality of the situation. Like, I went into that show. Look, I'll tell you right now, like, when we had Maudsley on, some of the things he said, I was like, ooh. You know what I mean? Like, from right out of the gate within 30 seconds, I was like, oh,
I texted you. I'm like, 90 seconds in and we can't put this on YouTube.
Yeah, it's so I'm like, I don't care. Like, honestly, he's the only guy I've ever talked to who actually talked about the Holocaust in that way. He is. He's the only guy I've ever talked to. He's the only guy I've ever heard talk about the discrepancies and the stories that came out. So it's like, I'm going to hear him out, and I'm going to not be afraid to do that. Like, I'm going to let him say what he has to say, and I'm still trying to process it all. And
I mean, yeah, I don't know if the historical claims he makes are true or not.
I think they are. That's the thing. Like, I'm at the point where I think they are right, but it's still I don't know.
Say they're not right, right? Say those the historical claims that he's saying, say they're just factually wrong. That you're telling me he's somehow an evil man for talking about it, for just talking about, for just looking into talking about. The man is the most pastoral priest I've ever met.
But beyond that, like, if it was any other event, there'd be no problem with looking into the way he's looking into it. And he's just looking into it, and he's going, look at these discrepancies. Like, the idea that there were mass graves, like, there's just no evidence of it. Like, the evidence is not there. Like, the what happened at Auschwitz was well documented by the Germans. The Germans were meticulous about their documents. He's like, when you look at the documents, there's no gas chambers. There's no, so it's like, I'm not trying to be like controversial by saying that. It's just like, I mean, If that's the case, then this is the biggest freaking lie ever told. And look at what they did with that lie. Look at what they did with that lie.
Even if it's the truth, look at what they've done with the truth. Look at how they've used the truth for their own purposes.
It's just so nuts, man, that like it's just, oh man, this issue.
Yeah, Mrs. Casey's right. The way he's handling his suspension is admirable, to say the least.
But the thing is, I also know when people hear that, especially they're hearing it for the first time, because I know how my reaction is to hearing it. Like, I know it's hard stuff to listen to. But the man is saying it because he's not saying it to brew up hatred. He's saying it because he believes this is the truth. And he's like, I'm going to say the truth. And I lost my platform. I lost everything by saying the truth, but I don't care. I'm going to say the truth because he believes it's the truth. And when you know something's true, it's like Jesus Christ is the truth. So to downplay the truth is like to lie by omission. Like, this is serious stuff. That's all I'm saying. Like, very serious stuff that we're talking about. And to just say that like I'm leading the charge against Matt Fradd, that's not what I'm doing at all. Not at all. In any way. I'm just talking about the dangers of somebody of that kind of influence in the Catholic sphere going over to a place like that, because I've seen what happened to Knowles and Walsh, because I know what Walsh thinks by what he doesn't say. Like, I know what Walsh thinks by what he doesn't say. And he doesn't say stuff because he won't turn on his friend Ben Shapiro. Like, he's got loyalty, and I understand that. Like, I get that. It's the same reason Thursday won't talk about Matt.
Yeah.
But I know what Walsh thinks on this topic. And I know Knowles, if he was free to talk about this, the guy would be good on this topic. But once you work at a place like that, you have the loyalty to your boss and you have a loyalty to the company you're working for. So it's not that you will push a Zionist thing. You will just leave things out. You will not talk about things. And that's kind of what they want. They want Catholics not talking about this because it's an issue that it's the same reason the feds were spying on trad parishes. Because if Catholics can unite and be like, there's no organization in the world like the Catholic Church. So if Catholics are awake to this issue, we are the biggest threat to Jewish power. Like, on the face of the planet, we have always been the biggest threat to Jewish power. Always.
So also the biggest threat to federal power, which is why the FBI.
Yeah, but it's also because there's so much Jewish influence in this in the FBI, and like it's all connected. Like, it's right, but the FBI
was saying like the Know Nothing riots back in the 1800s was because the government was once again afraid of the Catholics.
Yeah, like the Catholics, when they're united on something, like they hold so much power, and it's the reason that like John Paul II pushed the solidarity movement in Poland. They know if the Catholics get together and they form solidarity, they can take down a communist government. Like, that's literally how much power we hold as Catholics.
Yeah.
If we're united on something, we have through boycotts. Like, look at you go back and you look at the Cristeros. The Cristeros started as a Catholic boycott. The Catholics, like, they were like, we're going to boycott. Yeah. We're going to boycott the government here. And it started a freaking war.
Mm-hmm.
This is why this is such a contentious issue. This is why the Daily Wire is gobbling up Catholics. You think it's just coincidence that they're getting Isabel Brown, that they got Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, and now they're going for Matt Fradd. They're getting Trent Horn too, guys. They're getting Trent Horn too. Believe me, they're getting Trent Horn too. Trent will be the next one they get. I thought it was going to be a 15-minute talk on locals. We didn't even get, dude. Our local show is the best freaking after show ever. Thank you, Eric, for giving us an hour of freaking content. What, I don't know what you mean by do I think Leo is a plant? I think Leo is just the guy they chose to succeed Francis, and he's just continuing on the synodal stuff, you know. But I don't care because I think that God has plans while they may have their designs on the church, God has his own designs for the church. And I still think worldly events can shape who Leo becomes. I still think that.
And it very well might be
This issue.
yes. Because we have seen, no matter what he does with Jews and Hindus at the Vatican, that he is not and is, you know, a shill for the state of Israel, anyways. So it might be this issue. Who knows?
Liza says they want to be the sole source for Catholics and slowly but surely change our minds. 100. Look, there's two. I'm telling you, this is this is why, like, it's not about trads, man. Like trads, yeah, they're good when it comes to the liturgy, and they're good when it, you know, talking about Catholic doctrine and stuff. But if you don't get this issue right and understand where the source of this is, you're not really trad.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just not really trad, because this is it. Like, and I'm sorry, but this is apocalyptic, man.
Should we read the pre-55 prayer for the conversion of the Jews live?
Yeah. So Vin says trads are a small percentage, but that's the point, right? So the reason it's so important that Groypers are awake to this is because if Groypers are awake to this and they see that, like, now you just have to get them to see what they did in the church, and they come around on this issue, you know, because this it's like, you know,
you want to see the liturgy the Jews took from us? Here, come here on this Sunday.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
No, the Catholic content creator you wanted to talk about would be boring, guys. No point to talk about it.
What, the
one
Rick roll
thing? Yeah.
Who
cares?
Yeah. It would just be mean. And he's so innocent. Like, the whole pre-55 TLM movement. Well, Father Maudsley says the first time he was introduced to the pre-55 Holy Week is what woke him up, because he went, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, and I can't believe they took this from us. And that stuff started before the council. Like, that stuff started with the first, you know, like, so Lefebvre went to the 62 Missal because that was the last missal by John the 23rd. It's like, thank you, Pope Francis, for restricting the Latin Mass. That was insulting to Jews. Words matter when it comes to prejudice. Yeah. Look, it's been a development in Rob's and my thinking. Like, it's not like me and Rob thought like this 2 years ago. It's kind of just been like a development of our understanding of this issue. Like, we always were kind of like a little hesitant on the issue, right? Like, I mean, I think we were always like kind of like, I don't know about the, you know.
I mean, prior to becoming trad, I was more or less a Catholic Zionist.
Me too.
I was a libertarian Catholic Zionist.
Yeah,
just like Salmons.
So it's like it's been a development in our own thinking and our own conversations that we've had with different people, and just like thinking back on some of the things that I learned when I was listening to Scott Hahn about all of those parables from Jesus, when he would go through the Gospels and he would go through the Old Testament stories and the typology of it, and talking about how and then you go back, and I re-listened to the Joshua Charles, the second episode he did with Dr. Phimister.
Yeah.
And they go back through that half shekel at the temple. and they go back through it, right? And it's like
how usury now turns men into coins. That was
that too. So all right, so in the Torah, it gives permission for them to collect this half shekel for the for
upkeep of the priest, basically.
but for the Passover, right? So
Yeah,
you got to pay the half shekel to get the lamb for the Passover. They no longer mint that shekel, so they make a deal with Rome, and Rome allows them to mint this older coin
because
that's no longer
Rome won't let them mint their own, right? Because
that would
they would say they have sovereignty then.
Sovereignty and autonomy.
Rome's like, you can't do that, but there's this old Tyre half shekel. We will let you mint, and that's all.
And that half shekel has the image of Baal on it, right? So you have to think about when Jesus says, should we pay taxes to Caesar? Give me the coin. Whose image is on that? Oh, Caesar's. Give Caesar unto Caesar's what's Caesar's, and give to God what's God. Now, in the temple, there's an image of Baal on this half shekel. You're offering what is Baal's in the holy temple of God.
So people really have a very, very big misunderstanding of what is happening when Christ overthrows the tables of the money changers. He's not doing it because they're making money in the temple. What they're doing is they are trading. They're giving them images of balls in the court of the Gentiles, right? Like it's about blasphemy in the temple of God. That's
blasphemy in the temple
is overthrowing
the Gentiles. The temple is made up of 3 parts. The court of the Gentiles is where the Gentiles should be able to come and worship the one true God. And it's meant as a foreshadow of the covenant going out to the Gentiles, how the Messiah will come through the Jews and go out to the Gentiles, and the Gentile nations will one day worship the one true God. It is meant as a prefigurement of that. And the veil that gets
split is the veil between the court of the Gentiles and the inner court, right?
So Paul talks about the dividing wall of hostility being broken down in Ephesians. We did this when we did the
Danielic mystery.
The Danielic mystery, right? Yeah. The dividing wall of hostility is the outer court of the Gentiles. Then there's this dividing wall of hostility where if you're a Gentile and you cross that wall to the inner court, they will kill you. Right. So Paul talks about how Christ brings down the dividing wall of hostility, separating the distinction between Jew and Gentile. Like the Gentiles are now part of the covenant promises, right? Mm-hmm. But the Jews were so adamant that they would never share the promises with the Gentiles. They didn't let the Gentiles in the outer court, and they just made it a place to exchange for the Roman the Roman
Tyrian
denarii,
half shekel.
For the Tyrian half shekel, and they're literally committing idolatry rather than letting the Gentiles come in and worship the one true God. And it's like that. It brings so much more to when Jesus is talking in John chapter 8, and he's telling them, he's like, if you were sons of Abraham, you would rejoice at my coming, but your father is the freaking devil. And like not getting this whole thing is man, when the Vatican is talking about how Jews and Muslims worship the same God, they are playing around with Baal worship. They are doing what the Jews did in the outer court. When you see what Leo's doing in the Vatican this week, that's what the freaking Jews did in the outer court. That is why this crap is so dangerous, and that's why I say it's apocalyptic.
Same thing with Catholic parishes flying the pride flag. That's just like having an image of Baal on the half shekel you're about to offer
it's like
to God.
Welcome, all but Christ.
Yeah,
everyone's welcome at that parish, but Jesus Christ. If you have a pride flag outside your parish, the Novus Ordo they have used to have pride masses. Like this is apocalyptic, guys. This is not. You're talking about the same crap that was going on in that second temple is happening in the Vatican. You're talking about the abomination of desolation. Like this. That's this shit is.
You're right. The Novus Ordo is like the money changers.
Dude, they use it to celebrate pride masses. They use it to bring in whatever vehicle they want to bring in. It's blasphemy. Like not always. Obviously, the Novus Ordo can be celebrated properly. It's a valid Eucharist, but they use it for that same purpose.
Of course, it couldn't be used for that purpose if it wasn't valid, right?
Yeah, it's the mockery of it. But I'm just like, dude,
Just like
man.
those half shekels, they were real silver. They would have been worthless if they weren't real silver.
I'm just saying, like, if you guys don't understand the severity of what's happening here, it's like, yeah, in some ways, like the Sedis are right. Like, this stuff is crazy, you know. Yeah, they're right, but the reason they're wrong is because these actually are the ministers of God.
Yeah,
Like, these actually are the ministers of God's covenant.
it wouldn't be so offensive if they weren't.
Yes, like these men do sit in the seat of Moses.
Right. It would be meaningless if they weren't, if it wasn't the church doing this.
These are the ministers of God, and they are doing this crazy crap, and they're leading God's flock astray, and they've been doing it for 70 years now. So, like, to think that this will just continue on for another 100, oh, we'll just get a good pope in 100 years. You know, we just got to wait it out for all these conservative priests to become bishops. Like, you guys are nuts. It's not how this is going to play out. I'm just telling you. Like, we are looking at a destruction of the third temple, and we are the third temple, because you're talking about idol worship from the priests of the Most High God. And if you think that is just, oh, we'll just wait it out till the conservative priests get in, man, you guys are not paying attention. This stuff is coming to a head very soon. And when you take it into account of everything that's happening in the world, and even the stuff we're talking about tonight with our country, the way we spend money, and we're going to hit a freaking financial wall at some point, and it's just going to be like, we can't do anything else. There's going to be the freaking battle of Armageddon amongst all these countries who are doing the same crap. You got this war brewing up in Ukraine right now, and Russia's involved, and China's involved, and we're going to hit a dead end financially, and we're going to go, we need another war so we could drum up our economy again, just like we did in World War II. This shit is coming to a head, guys. I'm just telling you. I don't care if you guys think I'm nuts. I don't care if you think I'm black pilling. This is what's happening.
I don't think you're nuts, and I agree that, yeah, it's coming to a head. I would just say that the parallels between this and in the Roman world in the late, 4th century, early 5th century, very similar. You have a crisis in the church. We have the crisis now. They had the Arian crisis. You had an immigration crisis. We have what we have now. You had the barbarians, running up roughshod over Rome because the Huns were chasing them. You have money devaluation happening now. You had the Romans literally making their coins smaller and smaller because the golden goose had stopped laying, the golden eggs.
Yeah.
So
well, there could be a rebirth
world,
of Christendom. There could be a rebirth of Christendom.
Right. Their world did end.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right?
Like, reborn into Catholic.
And the thing is, they didn't have nuclear weapons, and they didn't like the thing.
That's very true. That's very true.
Like, we're talking about a level of destruction on the world. Like, I feel like the 20th century was a prefigurement of what's coming in the 21st, man. Like the level of death and destruction that mankind is capable of at this level. It's not the same as the Roman Empire. Yeah. So you're talking about the third secret of Fatima stuff, like a city in ruins, the Pope walking over dead bodies, like what they've happened. Like, dude, you look at all the Muslims that are in Rome right now, man. Like, it's just a flip of a switch, and that's it. It's just so simple that this stuff can happen. And I don't know how it's going to play. I don't know. It could be over 20 years. I'm just saying, like, this stuff is coming to a head. I don't think it's 20 years because I think that Trump is such a significant figure, and the way he is adored and worshipped, it just has such Antichrist vibes, man. I don't know if he's the Antichrist, but it's like some kind of prefigurement to it. And it's just, I've never seen a figure like him in my life where people are just like, man, they freaking worship that guy. It's nuts. But all of this stuff, man, like the fact that he told us he was going to end the war in Ukraine on day one, before he even gets into office, on day one, before he's even in office, he's going to end the war in Ukraine. We ain't ending nothing.
No, we've sent a few hundred, well, at least a few tens of $billions more to them since.
bro, we can send all the money we want until we actually get our boots on the ground and fight Russia hand-to-hand combat. That war is just going to continue on.
Well, and we don't want that.
We don't want that, but it's going
to
be
better happen. Just to give up Ukraine.
But that won't happen.
No, it won't.
It won't happen for what Nick Fuentes actually said today. He goes, you can't really just give up Ukraine because of the damage to the reputation of America that gives. Like, then all of our allies go, well, if they just abandon Ukraine, are they going to abandon us too? Like, then you get the whole world turning on you if you abandon Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then you really got to shore up and go, okay, we're just protecting ourselves in the Western Hemisphere over here. Because
which is what we should do.
Going to turn on us because they'll join Russia at that point.
Just make a new Monroe Doctrine. Screw Europe. Western Hemisphere is ours.
We're looking at over nuclear, here. We're looking at nuclear war in the near future, in my opinion. Just watch the news, man. Look at the insanity every freaking day of what's happening in the world. Think about how Trump was going to come in and defeat the deep state. The deep state's more powerful now than they've ever been. Nothing has changed under him. Nothing. Absolutely. All you people who think Trump's there, he has done nothing. He's put a different face and gotten Republicans who would have been against all of this crap if Biden was in. They're going along with it because Trump is in. There's some of us that are awake to it and going, no, this is crazy. But like, for the most part, MAGA goes where MAGA goes. MAGA goes where Trump goes. They don't care. They'll defend anything Trump does. Like, we're in a weird place where we are like paying attention to this stuff and we're not falling for it. But like the majority of people that are watching Fox News still, and you know, that's where they're getting their, like, they're not on Twitter. Like, they're falling for this crap.
100%.
Yeah, like you're talking like Our Lady of Akita stuff. The living will envy the dead.
Fire from the sky.
Fire from the sky. Like, that's what we're talking about. If you either believe Our Lady appeared in those places or you don't. Fatima and Akita are either true and happened or they didn't. And if they did happen, it's like that happened 1917. It's talking about over 100 years ago, that apparition. And everybody like, do you think she just didn't mean it?
You know, and I really, every day, I believe more and more that one of the errors of Russia, and maybe even the primary error of Russia, is less communism. It is more Zionism. Zionism was birthed in Russia by Russians.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, you get into all the revolutions they were behind and stuff. It's like, I don't know, guys. This is how I feel. Crazy. You only got 93 people in the freaking local site. You guys got a good one.
there was almost 120 earlier.
Oh, man. Look, it's exciting times that God chose for us to be alive. Chose a very exciting time to be alive. God chose for us to be alive at a very exciting time, and he chose for us to be alive at this time for a reason. So it's like, this is like, people think I'm blackpilling. I'm not blackpilling. I'm like kind of excited to see how the story plays out. You know,
it's kind of like me with this weekend. I got to go to the Twin Cities during a snap ride. It might be terrible, but I might go blinking in Walmart, guys.
Yeah, look, dude, like Brother Pig just said, all the saints wanted to live in this time. Well, Molly, my theory is, so Rob always asks me, he's like, if you really believe this, why don't you get out of New York? It's like, part of me is like, well, if there's a freaking nuclear holocaust, like, I want to die in the attack. Like, I don't want to live through that. And I'd rather me and my whole family get taken, so I don't have to worry about marauding bands of rapists taking my daughters and stuff. Like, I don't want to live through that.
I'm the opposite. If society crumbles, I'm in this little town in the middle of the woods, and I have enough weapons to arm the whole city block and be their little warlord. Like, I see this as the greatest opportunity I could be given.
I used to fantasize about like living in a post-apocalyptic world. Now, if I was single and I didn't have a wife and kids, I'd still fantasize about it, because it's like, yeah, road warrior stuff, let's go. But when you got a wife and kids to protect, and your kids a little, especially, man, it's scary stuff.
It is scary. is very scary.
Like when you got little kids, it's like, you know, it's one thing to defend yourself, but like when you got to protect your wife and children, you know, God forbid your wife is like Jesus says, like, woe, like, man, you go to Matthew 24. What does he say? Woe to the women who are with child during this time and stuff, right? Go, bring on Matthew 24.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, look, if I survive the original Fallout, like I'm going right to freaking Minnesota. I'm
I got
going to
enough
stay with
weapons for
Rob.
Ant.
Yeah, I'm going to Rob. I mean, I got to get far away from the East Coast. So, like me and Bobby are just going to start heading west.
And woe to them that are with child, and they give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter or on the Sabbath, for there shall be then great tribulation, such as hath not been from the beginning of the world until now, neither shall be. Then, unless those days had been shortened, no flesh should be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, do not believe him. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch as to deceive, if possible, even the elect.
Okay, so let's think about the turn of events we're talking about here. Talking about crazy war going on, everything around us. You're hearing wars and rumors of wars and chaos in the country where you're living.
It even talks about the rooftop Koreans.
And then
He that is on the housetop, let him not come down to take anything out of his house.
So you're talking about all of this stuff happening, and then an antichrist figure arising, trying to bring order out of the chaos, right? Like this is the stuff we're heading towards right now. And I'm sorry, but if you think that's naive and you have apocalyptophobia, you're gonna be left in shock. You're gonna be like beside yourself. But this is the stuff that should be expected, because this is how crazy things are getting.
Shut up, Paul. I say roof the way I say roof. Deal with it.
In the Catechism of St. Pius X, published 1908, he gives us one of the definitions of infidels. Though admitting one true God, they do not believe in the Messiah, neither is already come in the person of Jesus Christ, nor is to come. For instance, Mohammedans and the like. In the year 1076, Pope St. Gregory VII said in a letter to Al-Nasir, a Muslim ruler in North Africa, we believe in and confess one God, admittedly, in a different way. This is the traditional teaching.
Yeah. The whole whether or not we worship the same God it is very complex and nuanced. I don't know.
Well, I'm not trying to give you guys fear porn. I'm just trying to I don't know. I don't know how we don't see it this way. I don't know how else to look at it. I might start saying roof just for the hell of it.
How else would you say it?
I say roof. Catholic Esquire. Leo literally said, "Our faith unites us to the Jews today." I will be on with Stephen Cox and Catholic Esquire next Wednesday on Stephen Cox channel. Next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m.
Can you just try to explain to Stephen that most of the issues people have with him aren't what he believes? It's just that he's just annoying.
I love Stephen, dude.
He just comes off as like. And I've messaged him. We've messaged privately, and we get along just fine. And the way he portrays himself on Twitter is obnoxious.
But I think a lot of people don't realize how they portray themselves on Twitter. Like
I'm sure I know I'm an asshole on Twitter. I get it, guys.
Yeah, I think that's just how people. But I've had conversations with Stephen.
And yes, it's true. Everyone annoys me. So
Stephen,
don't be offended.
Yeah, don't at all. That's just Rob.
It is just me.
I had a conversation with him the other day, and he's kind of laughing. He's like, I don't know, man. I got myself cornered into where like my whole audience is just sedes, and they're so autistic, and it's like they think Stephen is a plant that has been brought in to like talk to the sedes to get them to accept like semi-tradism and recognize and resist and stuff. Bro, the sedes are so out of their minds, dude. It's the funniest thing. They're so funny, man. I love them. Catholic
What else
Esquire. No, his fedora is like his trademark. You can't get a new hat.
It's a problem with all Stevens. Well, at least one other Steven, that's for sure.
One we were going to feature tonight that we didn't.
Wait, what noise did he make?
Yeah, it sounded like Chewbacca. Steve Cunningham, same way, 100%. Cunningham is exactly the same 100%, way.
You're right.
Steve, you meet him in real life, and he's a great dude. You talk to him on Twitter, and you're just like, you are such an a-hole, dude.
Every time I unmute him, it's with 24 hours until I mute him again.
Yeah, like the people who react to SETIs, like they're Protestant, like just chill out. Like they're just seeing this stuff going on, and they're like, I can't make sense of it, and this has to be a false religion, and it's just, I get it. Like I get it. It's just, I almost just think it's like, even if their theory is right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it's they even prove that it doesn't matter by them focused solely on what's happening in Rome. Like they're always so focused on what's, if what they thought was, if their theory was actually true, they would just focus on their, like, they'd be like, the end of the world's coming and we're just going to live in our little parish, and we're just going to deal with our legit hierarchy because everybody else is, it's not really coherent. Especially when they talk about like there's no way to fix it because they don't think the orders are valid, and it's just they make more of a mess of it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think it's more what Catholic Esquire posted yesterday. Right now, you have the church and the anti-church coinciding under one under the same sacramental system inside the church right now. So you essentially have two churches in one. That's basically what's happening. That makes more sense to me. Where it's just, I don't know, but I could be wrong too. What the hell do I know?
Someone says Service Memorandi says, guys, I went from nothing to converting as a sede to begin with, attending a Latin mass in a scout's cabin in Australia. No one has that kind of conversion story.
That actually really is an interesting story.
Wow.
Yeah, they're coming up together like wheat and tares. But look, I like I said, like I could be wrong too. Like I kind of think anybody that comes out and just is like adamant that their position is correct, like you're nuts to think that you know anything, man. Like none of us know what's happening right now. We just know something's crazy off. Like something's off,
broken.
And something's broken, and God has to fix it. Like we're not going to fix it. So we can talk to people about it, and we can kind of throw our theories out there and stuff. But like none of us know. None of us know. When I sat with Kevin and Mario, I kind of said that to them. I was like, you guys have a really good theory, but it's like none of us know. Like what they're saying makes sense. It's at least consistent. Like the what's his name posted, Father Altman posted something about the Bergoglian sect or the Bergoglian denomination. And I'm like, dude, like
never mind.
Like the Benny Plenis thing it's like, all right, so you think like you either to me it's like it's either the council it all went haywire, and it's like the 58 sede position or the 62 sede position
is
like
more logical.
Yeah, like that's consistent at least. It's like all right, something happened. John the 23rd wasn't a valid pope because he was a Freemason. Like that kind of makes more consistent sense to me. And it's like the whole council was nonsense, and it was a BS council, and all that. Like that makes sense to me. But to say like the council's like Father Altman will celebrate a Novus Ordo, and then he'll denounce the Novus Ordo the next day. And it's like, he's like celebrating a Novus Ordo one day and then denouncing the Novus Ordo the next day. It's not consistent. That's all. Who are we punching down
on? Molly realized what we were saying and said, please don't tell me you were going to go after CC. And I said, well, okay, I'm not going to tell you that.
Well, no. Okay,
and she said, I prefer when you guys punch up.
Yes. Well, I wasn't going to go after him. It was just somebody sends me those videos as a Rickroll. Like, it's like, I know you're having a bad day, dude.
Someone else will cheer you up as a Rickroll?
Yeah, it's like it's a Rickroll. It's like, dude, I know you're having a bad day. Things were rough yesterday, man, but just check this out. It's going to cheer you up. And then I'll click on it, not knowing what I'm getting into because they don't have an iPhone. So I don't see the preview. And I click on it. I'm like, he got me again. It's like,
who's doing that?
Sweetest guy in the world. I would never be mean, but I consider myself a Benny said on a technicality, but it's very nuanced. I'm not, look, I get that too, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's either, because I still have affection for like John Paul II and Benedict, despite their mistakes and stuff. Like I still do have affection for them. But then when you read the Lefebvre interview and Lefebvre's like telling you like all the like the double speak he was getting from Ratzinger, you're like, oh man. Like Ratzinger, I feel like once he was elected Pope, like especially once he was head of the CDF, I think he like realized the council went too far and he tried to rein some of this stuff back in. And these guys thought they could get away with all these changes and then just still keep the doctrine together. And then Benedict tried to make a hermeneutic of continuity, but all this stuff just fell apart. It just fell apart because there was all liberals around him, and it was only a matter of time before one of those liberals got to the highest seat. And that's what happened with Francis. Yeah. You had one of those liberals get to the seat of power, and they kind of just went, yeah, no, we're not doing this hermeneutic of continuity thing. Let's just stop pretending. I think Ratzinger is a very complicated guy. Well, I think it's kind of like what Lefebvre said, where he was just like, these guys are all liberals. Like they're all like, they're all liberals. But yes, we're all modernists. Like that's why, like, I never made such a big deal out of us being like super uber trads and stuff. It's like, because I'm sure there's plenty of things I do that people could criticize me for. I just know something's off and something's wrong, and we're waiting on God to fix it.
No, I don't say sorry like a snowman.
What does that mean?
Sorry.
Sorry.
You betcha. Sorry.
I bet you would. Like in your,
like, what do you mean?
In your natural environment? It's like when like this podcast made me tone down my New York.
I don't change my accent.
You don't think you toned it down to sound more?
No. There are like
because you don't say A on the show anymore. You used to, like, early on you would say A a lot. Like your Minnesotan accent would pop through on occasion.
No. You're not changing me, are you? No. I think
both of us.
I hope not. The second I say you guys, or how do you use guys? The second I say that, please kill me.
Yeah, John the 23rd, Paul the 6th, John Paul the 1st, John Paul the 6th. They all seem to die with concerns about the path of the church, and that all seemed to change once like Francis and Leo are like accelerate. Yeah, there is a difference. Did that code switch for us? I think that if you guys heard me speak like at work before I started this show, if you saw home videos of me before I started this show, forget it.
Go back to the early videos, guys.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I started pronouncing my R's for this show. I'm so happy I have off tomorrow. My daughter's like, Daddy, can you drive me to school in the morning? I'm like, what time am I gonna get up? 6:30. I can do that.
Oh, that's sleeping in 3 hours.
Huh? Sleeping in, yeah. I usually get up at 3:30. So this morning I went into work early. I left my house at 3:30 this morning. Yeah, acceleration is my jam now because I want a resurrection, and you can't have a resurrection without a death. So the church does need to go through this passion. Like it needs to go through the passion. It needs to have a death, so a rebirth of Christendom can come, and we'll get that period of peace from Our Lady, and that's what I hope for.
By the way, the video with the Kanye music did prevent us from monetizing.
Yeah, of course.
I don't even think about that stuff.
Not even that, especially that song. Like they don't even want that song on. That might get the video taken down.
It's possible. The auto censors stopped the monetization, but it's still up right now.
All right. They don't like that song. Okay, so in hindsight, are you happy with Trump or would Kamala have been better? We're not in hindsight yet. That's the thing. And I think that Trump was kind of like a pressure release valve. And I think that people that would normally never go along with a lot of this stuff are going along with it because it's Trump. So we won't know what hindsight is until Trump's term is over. And
Well,
we're
even
still
then,
in it.
we wouldn't know what it would have been like under Kamala.
And
So
yeah.
it's kind of a moot point, in my opinion.
And I mean, look, it is a lot nicer not dealing with the, but I think woke was a false flag. Like I think the woke stuff was a legit false flag where
And
it
it
was
was gonna.
so absurd.
We're seeing it die anyways. Like the number of Zoomers identifying as gay and stuff has plummeted over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think it would have died a natural death anyways. But
it was like it was pushed right up until the election, and then once Trump gets in, it's like woke is dead, and now it seems like all things are. It's like we don't talk about trans men and women's sports anymore. We don't. People that are still talking about the trans issue, you're kind of like, what year are you living in? Like
I mean, the Overton window has shifted. In shifting the Overton window is important. Like some of the the
stuff Walsh did was important.
Well, and some of the silly memes that Homeland Security and ICE are, they're kind of silly. They're funny. They're silly, but it is kind of important too because it really is pushing the Overton window to where now you're not looked at as being absolutely insane if you say maybe immigration isn't great, guys.
Yeah, the Overton window has shifted a lot. Conversations are happening that couldn't happen a few years ago. Yeah, the Jews already own locals. Who asked that? What if the Jews buy locals?
Yeah.
I think that part of me thinks that the stolen election was coordinated by Trump. Like the mail-in ballots thing was only possible because of a policy Trump put in his first term. Like something Trump did in his first term allowed for mail-in ballots during COVID. So it was almost like he knew it was going to happen. And he did nothing to stop it. And then the whole drama around him trying to win back the election through the courts and all that stuff, everything just gets struck down. Like it all seems like theater to me. And his historic comeback, it was all just
politics is always theater, anyways. But it doesn't mean it was planned or coordinated.
I think it was.
Not everything in the world can be a coordinated psyop conspiracy yet.
No,
some things do happen organically.
Yeah, all right. I don't
know
how
how those organic natural events are used. Yeah, sure, but
I don't know. There's something about the way it happened where he gets the election stolen and then he has this historic comeback. It's just too much of a story. Like it's too poetic.
Okay, but at the same time, look at salvation history. God does write in stories.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this.
I just think the kayfabe, I think politics is all theater at this point. Like it's just legit all theater. I think all of it is just kayfabe at this point. So I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just a feeling. I don't know. Like live a little.
I talked about Agartha tonight, Molly. Come on.
Man, I'm interested to see Nick's politics show where he's going to go with it because he is still MAGA. Oh, yeah.
However, wherever he goes with it, he'll apologize for it the next week.
Oh, come on. Don't be mean to Nick.
I'm not wrong.
Don't be mean to Nick.
Yeah, well, you should shut up about what he says behind the scenes then.
The snake-like managed dialectic stuff is Satan, though. Christ is a total surprise.
If this is how long Anthony and Rob thinks 15 minutes is good for their wives.
My wife's not home, so that's why I did this show tonight because I have off of work tomorrow. My wife is at a Broadway show tonight, and I
Meanwhile,
figured,
Rob's wife is home dealing with children, and Rob does have to work tomorrow.
but you're traveling Friday, right?
I'm only going to work for 2 hours on Friday and then taking off early.
So, all right, we're gonna wrap this up though. We've been going at it for 2.5 hours. I can't. I was starting to get a headache at the end of the YouTube show, and I was like, all right, I'll try and eke out.
Salmons gave you a headache.
Then the headache went away once I started going off, and
once you started getting mad at Salmons, yes.
Ali made stop the steal and got Trump to jump in.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember all the intricacies of everything, but I guess I did miss the joke. I don't know.
Okay. I drank 2 energy drinks. It's been 2.5 hours. I really got to go to the bathroom.
All right. Me too. I got to pee. So, all right. We will see you guys next week. We'll be back Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I'm on with Stephen Cox and Catholic Esquire. And,
on what channel? Our channel? Their channel?
No, I'm going on Stephen Cox's channel. So, yeah. But tomorrow I'm off. So expect to see a lot of fun stuff on Twitter tomorrow.
If things go off in the Twin Cities on Saturday, guys, I'll live stream it.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, we'll see you guys next week.